So Google's I/O 2018 conference was yesterday, and you can get the highlights from anywhere and everywhere. I'm just going to give you my personal thoughts. They opened, and I couldn't find a good screenshot to demonstrate this, but for those of you who do not know, GBoard is Google's built-in keyboard for Android, and they recently managed to come up with a way to add Morse code, and through Morse code and some software, this wonderful woman had the opportunity to finally have a voice of her own, because she knew Morse code and she was able to communicate using GBoard and head movements, and it was just wonderful. And this is the sort of thing that I personally look forward to every year. Unrelated, Microsoft also announced an AI initiative for accessibility, and I think that for people with special needs such as myself, utilizing technology like this is going to be continuing to break down barriers. It's going to be fantastic. So that was one of the highlights. The others are what you come to expect. We've got the new Android version coming up, Android P. A lot of people don't know what it's going to be named. I personally don't care what it's going to be named, because I don't even know if my Google Pixel will be able to run it smoothly. I'll certainly try, but what the results are, who knows? We'll see. But you got some new navigation, and for those of you who cannot see, your home button has been replaced by a little slider. And if you move the slider from the center of your screen to the right of your screen, it's sort of back and forth, and you get a little tick, tick, tick haptic feedback on the way down. Well, that's your app switcher. The app switcher is, for those of you who can remember, I think it's very reminiscent of WebOS. Excuse me, from Palm before they went under. Excuse me. And I really like this. You're also going to be able to copy and paste from one app to another, which is fantastic, because if you've ever had to tried to have a conversation with somebody who speaks a different language, having to go back and forth between their conversation window and Google Translate can sometimes be a bit of a juggling act. So there's always that, and you can also get to multitasking from this new view. If you swipe up a little bit, you get your app switcher. You swipe up again, you're going to get to your app drawer. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Me personally, I don't know. We'll just have to see, like I said, how it works out. That swipe up, by the way, replaces your recent apps button in Android. So for those of you who are used to the 3 static buttons, they no longer exist. That said, you do get a back button when such time that it is necessary. So that's basically Android P, the biggest thing being the UI change so far. Of course, we still have other updates and other things to go through before it gets released later this year. I've never used Google Lens, but this technology about being able to highlight text in a picture, that is just incredible. That is something that I think is definitely going to be interesting, because what I'm thinking about this as is, if you zoom in on the camera and you're able to highlight the text, you could actually have Google read to you what's on the menu, because there's going to be a pop-up that will appear on the bottom of the screen that shows you more about the recipe, the dish, what it looks like. In this case, you got a restaurant menu. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. So there's that. This I can only describe as insane. This is one of the biggest draws from Google I/O 2018. If you've ever been too busy to call, and in my case, for instance, I'll give you an example from my own experience. There have been a couple of times this semester where I got so busy that I almost forgot to call paratransit. Okay? Well, this is not ready yet. But supposedly when it is, Google could call paratransit for me and actually book a ride on paratransit for me, and I wouldn't have to do anything. I could just keep going on working and Google would take care of it. This is nuts. This is just insane. This, oh my God. If you search Google I/O highlights, they had 2 demos of the Google Assistant calling to make a reservation at a restaurant and calling to make a hair appointment at a salon. What? I have no words. I have no words. Wow. Speaking of the Google Assistant, if you have a Google Home, such as I do, or one of the Google Home enabled or Google Assistant enabled speakers, I recently got a JBL Link 10. They are going to be adding in the coming weeks a number of new voices, John Legend being one of them. And one of the tech journalists had asked, what voice would we like to see? And me personally, I'd like to see Tom Hanks. I pretty much like anything that he's in. The Post, Apollo 13, Forrest Gump, Toy Story. You know, I just love the movies that he's in, and I think it would be really cool to have Tom Hanks as the voice for my Google Assistant. That's just me. Wow. That is incredible. That is just incredible. Gmail's getting an update. Automatic mail completion. So for instance, if I have a signature, for instance, if I use any professional correspondence, I'll always start out with hi, give my message, and then at the end, I'll always say thanks me. And Gmail, if they know this, they could actually fill that in for me, and that would save time. That would definitely save time, especially, you know, as emails ramp up and having to reply to many emails in a single day. It would just save a lot of time and production effort. I think it would be really cool to see this in action. Google Maps is becoming a little more social, but that wasn't what interested me. What interested me was the visual, augmented reality, turn-by-turn pedestrian directions. And this is just fantastic because in an area especially where I'm unfamiliar with, I might not know where exactly. It may say turn left at the traffic light. Well, which traffic light? If there are 2 traffic lights in close succession to one another, which one are they talking about? Being able to look at my phone screen and see that, in this example, for instance, the fox is telling me to turn left. You know, that is just something that is I just think, I apologize. I know I'm stumbling, but I'm still in awe about a lot of this. I'm just wonderfully, wonderfully excited about all of this. The only real hardware news that was mentioned, and incidentally, my view, but before I get to the hardware news, my view on the turn-by-turn directions, it's about time, because I've been looking for a pedestrian-centric GPS, and a lot of times maps, depending on the color contrast, current location, how accurate that is, it might be hard for me to see. So something like a full screen view is definitely welcome. So the only hardware news that we had was the Google Assistant smart displays will be coming this July. There are going to be 3 of them. There's a JBL Link View. There is a Lenovo smart display. I don't know exactly what the name of it is. And then there's this one, the LG ThinQ smart display. Now, I personally picked this one to show for 2 reasons. 1, I love the styling. 2, it allows me to highlight a particular feature that these things are coming with, and that is, if you can see here, right about the center top, right above the screen's camera, there's a switch. That switch is for a mechanical shutter. I like that. I really like that a lot. When I got my Echo, I was considering getting the Echo Spot. I decided against it because it was more expensive, but notably the existence of the camera. I really like this this idea of a physical shutter. In fact, I think my next computer is more than likely going to have a physical shutter on the webcam. It's nice, especially if you're going to have this like in your bedroom, for instance, and you want privacy. It's just nice to have that. Now, the LG will have it. The Lenovo will have it. If the JBL smart speaker has it, I haven't seen the button on the mock-ups yet. I'm very interested to see what these look like in person. The other reason I like this is because of the styling. This reminds me very much of an old 90s TV or an 80s, 90s TV set. It also reminds me, it has the same sort of color contrast as a really old entertainment system that I have up at my summer house. My late father used it for listening to NPR. And that would be this. The Sony Dream Machine with a built-in surround sound cassette player. When I was little, I had a whole mess of cassettes, and I would use this all the time. And I don't know why, but just looking at this smart display, it kind of reminds me of that Dream Machine. It has that sort of overall vibe to it for me. These smart speakers won't be cheap. They're going to be about $300, so I can't say for certain if they're worth it. We'll have to wait till they come out. The other smart speaker, though, that supposedly is going to be coming out is one by Sony, but we've heard nothing from them. So, but my personal take on Google I/O is that it's super exciting. Oh, one other thing that I forgot to mention, since we're here on the smart displays, these smart displays will actually be able to do this. The Google Assistant is getting an upgrade in a couple of weeks, and this upgrade, aside from the voices, is going to allow you to have continuing conversations. So I could say, okay, Google, what's the weather? The weather is such and such, it replies. And then I can literally say, what's the wind speed? And that's because, and it'll say the wind speed. And that's because they're enabling a new feature. Now, it's going to be off by default, I think. If you're an existing user, I don't know about new users, if it's going to be turned on or not. But existing users, it'll be off by default, and you can switch it on. And what they're calling this is hot mic or smart listening or something. I think it's hot mic. And it will continue to listen for 8 seconds after it's finished a query in case you want to add something else. Or if you want to stop it, you can just simply say thank you, and it'll switch back off. So Google I/O, for me, the biggest thing is that Morse code and GBoard enabling new communication opportunities. The new Google Duplex, which is going to be just insane when that comes out. The Google Home Assistant, Hot Mic, the augmented reality directions, the new items in Google Lens for highlighting text, and even taking the text and turning it into a PDF. I forgot to mention that. You could actually take a picture of text and it will, on the fly, convert it. So that could be a real step forward in terms of accessible hard copy materials for people with little to no vision. If this technology is accessible with TalkBack, or on iOS if they have a separate Google Lens app, I don't know if they do, but if they do, and you use the Google Lens app, this could be a wonderful all-in-one solution for converting accessible documents without the need for any monthly subscriptions or third-party apps that you don't know whether they're going to work. And if there's an update to the system, obviously because it's Google, it'll be pushed out.
7 o'clock p.m.
It's going to be fantastic to see all this coming out. But what do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.